I'm honestly done with steroid testing. Everybody's on something, but we all have to pretend it's crazy. It's crazy when someone tests positive for something, like we didn't see it coming. It's just like, let's pull the trigger. Everybody's already been talking about the steroid Olympics for years. Let's just do it. Lance Armstrong can be the head of ceremonies. He can light the ceremonial syringe. The games will be held in Russia, obviously. Pro wrestling can finally be an Olympic sport. Pro wrestling will be awesome in the steroid Olympics. And I mean, all the athletes will die in their 30s, but whatever, that's the choice they made. Ba-da-da, ba-da-da. Welcome to this episode of DSPN, hard-hitting sports coverage you will literally find anywhere if you look hard enough. If you ignore the fact that Rio is apparently the worst place on Earth to hold an Olympic Games, everything was shaping up nicely for the summer 2016 Olympics. That is until it turned out that the Russian government was state-sponsoring all kinds of steroids for all of their Olympic athletes. Turns out the Russians have perfected the art of taking a positive steroid sample, removing it before it actually gets tested with nobody noticing, replacing it with clean urine, which I imagine they had to have imported because apparently everybody in Russia is pissing hot. And then they pass the test and everybody's fine. Members of the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, furious, obviously, are going to be meeting to try and decide what to do with Russia. It could be as serious as kicking them out of the Olympics that are like 2 weeks away, and it could have even more ramifications than that, as it does seem like this goes back to the 2012 games in London, even the 2014 games in Russia. I know, who would have thought the Russians would have cheated at the Olympics that they had in Russia? As a matter of fact, DSPN has found evidence that this could go as far back as 1985, with Russian government officials giving steroids to their athletes when an American boxer tragically died in the ring. Speaking of being juiced to the now shrunken nuts, Jon Bones Jones had his temporary suspension extended now into the fall as he'll await the NAC deciding what his fate will be after they announced today the 2 substances that Jones tested positive for ahead of UFC 200. Jones was caught with a pair of estrogen blockers, which on their own are not performance enhancing, but can be used to mask the effects of actual steroids, so not necessarily catching the criminal in the act, but finding his getaway driver sitting outside with the keys in the ignition and a big sign that says, "Bank robbers are in here." Now, Jones is insisting that this is all accidental, that maybe there was a tainted supplement, and that he never meant to use performance-enhancing drugs, much like he never meant to use cocaine, he never meant to smoke weed, he never meant to drag race, he didn't mean to hit and run that pregnant woman, didn't mean to say awful things on Instagram, he didn't mean to kick that baby. Also, in MMA, Michael Page, also known as MVP in the Bellator cage, won another fight in exciting fashion over the weekend, stopping his opponent Cyborg Santos with a flying knee to the face, which drove his opponent down to the mat. After the fight was over, but actually before the fight was even really over, Page ran over to the side and was handed props by his corner man, turned out to include a Pokemon trainer hat and a Pokeball. Sort of a replica plastic Pokeball, put the hat on, rolled the ball towards a defeated Cyborg Santos, which in itself is a dick move. I mean, throwing a Pokeball at a guy you just kneed in the face is never a classy thing to do. Hilarious, but not particularly sportsmanlike. Made even worse by the fact that this is what Page did to Cyborg Santos's face. As you can see, there are some blemishes and disfigurements. Turns out that flying knee that finished the fight also caved in a part of Santos's skull. So that's insane. Page, of course, had no idea when he threw the knee that he would disfigure his opponent. And as for the celebration, he also didn't think that that was going to work because, as we all know, and as Page told DSPN, he just assumed that the Pokemon Go servers would be down at the end of his fight, meaning that he wouldn't be able to catch any Pokemon. And finally, Summer League basketball is apparently a thing. I had no idea. The NBA gets together 2-3 times throughout the summer and tests out different lineups and different rosters, and now that you know it's a thing, it's over. Championship game of the Las Vegas Summer Basketball League, brought to you by Samsung. I don't know why I mentioned them. They're not giving me any money. It's over. It's finished. The Chicago Bulls were your winners after Denzel Valentine hit a three-pointer in the dying seconds of regulation time to send it to overtime, and then in that extra frame, nailed it to again in the dying seconds to win the championship. So kudos to him, though if you're wondering why he is playing summer basketball on July 18th in the NBA Summer League and not sitting on a beach somewhere are collecting money like the rest of the NBA stars, it's because throughout the entire championship game, he hit one other basket worth 2 points. He had 7 points in the night. One sent it to overtime. One won the championship for the season, and the other one was just, I don't know, a layup somewhere in the first half. And that is your DSPN Sports Update. Whenever sports news breaks, you'll probably hear about it somewhere else first, but you probably laugh harder when you see it here. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. My name is Dalby. See you back here next time.